All right, everybody. Welcome to we're doing a new wrestling podcast here with three hosts. It's me, Matthew J. Haas. We have Gerard Simonelli. Ronnie can't make it with us for right now. He may join us a little bit later. We're not sure. He had kind of a family emergency. But I want to welcome everybody to Deadman's Triad Wrestling Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the little intro there. I made it nice and short, but to the point. Gerard, I'm excited. This is a new wrestling podcast that we're doing together. I do other podcasts. I'm a veteran podcaster. I've been doing podcasts for a long time. I'm excited. I don't know. What are your thoughts on doing a wrestling podcast?
Well, this is my first real podcast of being a host. Second time being on a podcast, so this will be quite interesting. Let's see how many wrestling fans are out there.
Yeah, definitely. Wrestling's popular still, especially with younger generation. I've been a wrestling fan for so long. I think since I was like 8 years old. I know, Gerard, you have some wrestling background with yourself. You have some experience with training, I believe, and you've actually, encountered some wrestlers. I don't know if you want to give a little background with, to our audience about how you got into wrestling.
I've started watching wrestling with my grandfather back when they had Lucha Libre on Channel 47, and since then I've been hooked. I grew up with Bruno Sammartino and Bobo Brazil. Haystacks Calhoun. These are the main wrestlers back in the days when wrestling was good against bad. Now the era has changed where anybody can wrestle anybody, and these flying wrestlers. It's interesting now, but I believe back in the days, I truly enjoyed the old type of wrestling. We also knew Lou Albano, and he was one of the great coaches back in the days. And he got his seats in Sunnyside Gardens in Queens, and we had this. It was just a blast.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into a lot of different generations of wrestling because obviously wrestling goes back. Nacho Libre, Josie says in the chat room. I just want to mention everybody real quick before I get into deep into the conversation. We do have a chat. It's not much. If you listen to us either on Facebook or if you go on our YouTube channel, it's Deadman's Triad Wrestling Podcast. Look us up both on Facebook and YouTube. If you want to participate in the chat, get involved in the discussion with us about whatever topics that we have going on. Feel free to go in the chat. We're going to talk about various topics from old generation to the new generation. That's what this podcast is about. It's about old school wrestling meets today's wrestling. That's what this podcast is going to be about. Obviously, we're a little older, so we go into the older generation of wrestling. I'm in my 40s. Gerard's a little older than me, so he goes a little bit even further back than I do. What were some of the wrestlers, Gerard, that you grew up watching when you first started?
Like I said, Bruno Sammartino. When I first started, I had Chief J Strongbow, Superstar Billy Graham. He was one of my favorite. He was a bad guy, but he was one of the best. And then, like I say, I went down, like I said, Bobo Brazil, Mil Mascaras. He was my all-time favorite. He was a Mexican luchador. He's one of the first, and I think, truly was the best. I could just keep going and going. There's so many.
I know, there is. Yeah. I have an echo going on my end. I want to make sure that our audience doesn't hear it on there, and so you guys can let me know. Again, as a podcaster, you can't hear yourself live during the show because if we did that, the audio would sound really bad. So, guys, this is kind of like an introduction / trial run episode that we're doing of Deadman's Triad Wrestling Podcast. So, we're trying to work out all the technical things and all the audio issues. If there are any, just please let us know. Message us either in the chat. You can message us privately. If you can let us know either way, let us know how everything sounds and looks. If it looks and sounds horrible, either way, just let us know. That'd be great. I started out watching wrestling, I guess, in the late 80s, obviously, because we hear a little when Gerard spoke. Okay. We'll work on it. But But yeah, we're trying to clear those issues up. So bear with us. We'll try to work it out throughout the show. I was 8 years old when I first started watching wrestling. I grew up watching Hulk Hogan during his glory days, way before NWO stuff, way before WCW got popular. Hogan, was one of the greatest champions, that when WWF was WWF before they changed over to WWE. I think Hogan kind of grabbed the torch from the older generation of wrestlers. And then that's when Andre the Giant was around. We had the Junkyard Dog. He was around. Let's see who else. King Kong Bundy. Trying to think of some other great wrestlers that were around during my time when I was first getting into wrestling. I don't know. Having a brain fart.
Well, you're going back WWF.
Right.
I'm going back WWWF.
Right. Yeah.
It was Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, because before
that's when it was
McMahon, right.
Yeah. That's
his
in the
father
70s.
ran that. Yeah.
I used to go, myself and my brother, we used to go front row, and we used to have blast out there. My brother, he's in it longer than I have, and he met Ivan Putski. He actually hung on. He has a picture. He's going to try and find it for us of him hanging off one of his biceps in a picture in one of the magazines.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and locate that, and we'll put that up.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I also grew up watching like Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. Yeah, Ivan Putski. There was so many. Like you could really mention so many. Yeah, we're talking old school, Laura. That's right. Laura Simonelli is in the chat. Want to say hello to her. Hulkamania.
Yeah, she's a Hulkamaniac.
Yeah, you're a Hulkamaniac. All right, good. Yeah, sorry for the sniffles. Little sinus stuff going on. Yeah, so welcome to Deadman. We thought of Deadman's Triad Wrestling Podcast. We really try to think of a podcast name that would stand out because we're a little behind. There's a lot of wrestling podcasts out there. So we want to be a little bit different. So we've thought old school meets new generation. And, we're going to be talking about both. Gerard, you have a list of 30 greatest all-time wrestlers. Now, we could go, first generation all-time greats. We could go second generation all-time greats. Third, there's third and fourth generation. But is this like a list that we where it's all-time greats of everybody combined, or is it like focused on a certain generation?
Well, the list that I found, I put up. I'm truly not with these 30 wrestlers. It doesn't have a lot of the old wrestlers. It has some wrestlers from, I guess, Japan and other stuff I'm really not familiar with.
Yeah.
But if I put my 30 best, you're talking it's going to go back from the 70s up to now.
Yeah.
But the list that I found for us, a few of the names in them, I don't know who they are. I don't even know how they even made the list.
Well, go ahead if you want to start it off. Maybe
there's one. There was the top one. They said was Chris Jericho. I know you're a Jericho fan.
I'm a big
you like Jericho. But Eddie Guerrero was one of the. I think they have him as number 2. And I actually wrote a list for Jericho. He's one of the guys who beat Chris Benoit. He's beaten Chris Jericho for the title. He's beaten Rob Van Dam. These guys I really follow and like. And he even beat Brock Lesnar for the title back in 2004. But he had a tragic death. He passed away in 2005, I believe. He had an enlarged heart.
Yeah, he had a heart attack.
But I would put him up in the top of the pedestal, Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, Eddie Guerrero was a great entertainer. I believe he was a second generation wrestler, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And their father, Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero, I believe, like his father just recently passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was in Minneapolis when he passed away, Eddie. He was in Chavo's arms when he passed away.
Right.
He was holding him when it happened, yes.
Yeah. Chavo Guerrero was not Chavo, I'm sorry. Eddie Guerrero was really good friends with Chris Benoit, and
Yep.
they were like brothers because they started out in the in the business together, and they were on the road and traveled a lot together. Getting feedback. Yeah, sorry for the feedback, guys. We're trying to just bear with us with that. We're trying to work it out as we go. You know, there was, again, we can go into Chris Benoit's story, which is really tragic. I was a huge Chris Benoit fan, and it was basically murder suicide situation. He killed his family, and I believe there was only one sole survivor, which is one of the sons. Correct?
I believe so. I believe
Yeah.
I'm not too much up with him anymore. I did like him wrestling. I think he was a great wrestler. Regardless of what he did, I still think he was a wonderful wrestler. I mean, he shouldn't have done what he did, obviously, but that was more, they say, steroid rage and
Yeah, I don't.
back in the era.
Yeah, I don't think it was a mental illness. I mean, there was a mental illness that went with that, but he never had a mental illness before that. And of course, there were some that speculated maybe it was a lot of bumps to the head
Yeah,
because
possibly.
he was, he was an aerial technical wrestler, and he did take a lot of bumps to the head. So of course, there was speculation about that. And of course, along with steroids, there was a lot of big steroids involved with wrestling back in the 80s and 90s. That was a big thing because, um, wrestlers were little guys and then all of a sudden became these huge, muscle-like wrestlers. And it's like, how did they get like that? Well, obviously steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so guys, yeah, we're talking about 30 greatest all-time wrestlers. There's a list that Gerard put together. We're going to go over that a little bit. Also, the other topic we're going to talk about a little bit as we work out any technical stuff here during the show. Just bear with us, guys. I'm doing the best we can with that. The other topic I thought would be really interesting to talk about is Cody Rhodes and the legacy of the Rhodes family. The first generation of the Rhodes family was Dusty Rhodes, and he had two sons. He had Dustin and Cody, both in WWE, also both in WWF before becoming WWE. Dusty died recently, a few years ago. Now they formed a new company called AEW, which is a really cool company because it kind of reminds me, it's a little reflection of WCW at the time when it was on TNT Network. AEW is on TNT Network, and Cody is, I believe, co-partner of that organization, and he can't use his last name because WWE trademarks almost everybody's last name or names, and it's hard for him to use his last name. And I think it's kind of messed up because, especially, that legacy that they have following behind them with Dusty Rhodes and everything. I think they should just kind of let them, but they're in court, kind of like battling for the rights over the last name Rhodes, which is, that's your last name. Like, why? I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Gerard?
Well, the last I read about it with Cody Rhodes, he knows it's about business in a way. He knows WWE, they're going to keep the name because they can make money on the name, even though they're not selling any merchandise right now. And I read something here. It says that Cody feels that the WWE trademark is fueled by pettiness and not business. It's something this Vince McMahon, you know him, he likes keeping his name up there. And I don't know what his situation was with Dusty Rhodes back in the days, that with the Rhodes name. But again, they think signed in May 2020, the trademark.
Right.
I think it's wrong. I think they should give him back his last name, but he's just known as Cody now, supposedly.
Yeah. He goes by Cody because he can't use Cody Rhodes, obviously because of the trademark. My thing is, I think it's a ego thing on Vince McMahon's end because I guess he kind of just feels like he needs to own everything. For whatever years that that he was there, I guess he felt that time period that he was in the company, that he felt he owed him to keep the name, so to speak. But Vince McMahon has a really, really huge ego that we all know about. And I think it's more of a power and greed kind of thing rather than just a trademark. And I don't know. I think he should let those guys use their names because without those, that's what made these characters. And like without the use of those characters, like what do they do from when they leave the company? I think that's messed up.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a wrong thing they do, but it's business. It's all about business.
Right.
It's all about business.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what else is on the list you got there?
Well, I guess I wrote the list down because this was a list that I found online, which Chris Jericho was number 1. And then it has Eddie Guerrero, which we spoke about Eddie a minute ago, and it has The Rock. I think The Rock I don't think he's a great wrestler. He's a great performer. He's a wonderful actor, but I never thought he was a great wrestler itself. He was just a great frontman.
Yeah, he was great. He introduced a different style of promos. Like promos were big back in the day, in the late 80s and 90s. Promos were a big thing. Not so much anymore because now it's just like a storyline and entertainment. AEW kind of sticks with old school a little bit, but they also do storylines as well. But yeah, The Rock, he introduced like a new form of promos, and I think that's what gave him his popularity, so to speak, was the way his promos were.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Then we have Andre the Giant, another great wrestler, but he got put aside a lot too because back in the days when he wrestled, it was good against bad. So him and Bruno Sammartino were very close friends. Unless he was bad, then he couldn't fight against Bruno back in the days.
Right.
But if he ever did, I think he would be back in the prime. He would be Bruno Sammartino for the title.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sad what happened with Andre the Giant because if anybody watched the documentary, there's a documentary about Andre the Giant, and when I watched it, I couldn't believe how much wine that he drank. He drank bottles and bottles of wine because of his giantism, which was I think a disorder, you know, in people that they're just born with being giant, and they didn't have a long lifespan. And not only because of his giantism, it kind of like made people bully him, and they didn't like take him into the community as well or positive, and they kind of made fun of him. And yeah, he was just basically bullied his whole life because of how his disorder was and how that you know was made in the public. And he just drank himself to death, basically drinking lots and lots of like 30 bottles of wine a day or something like that. It was insane.
Yep.
So yeah, Andre the Giant was a great heel. I didn't like him like as a good guy because when he was like a good guy and he was pairing with Hogan, it didn't work for him.
Well, that was the end of his career, though.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, we had that long, crazy hair.
Yeah.
You know, he was a great wrestler. That guy, he used to come in the ring. He was like dopey. He's like so big and dopey, but he was a great wrestler. Everybody loved the guy. He was friendly with everybody. But
yeah. You ever watch him?
It was sad at the end.
Yeah. You ever watch him in The Princess Bride?
Yes.
Yeah. He actually was a good actor. I thought he did a great job in that movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Very entertaining. Like, he was French, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I believe so. He's from France, yes.
Right. And yeah, you can really hear his accent in that movie. He hides it well when he was doing his wrestling promotion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then the other wrestler is Triple H. Hunter Hearst Helmsley. When he first came out, he came out like this posture, walking upright, and he had such good form moving around, and I knew he'd be famous in time. And then after he became the game, then he became like phenomenal. And now he's like running the company, basically.
Yeah. That's because he married the daughter.
Yeah. Helps out.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, I really thought that was all just like part of a facade or like kind of like fake. But then when I learned that they actually had a real relationship, and then they really married in real life, I was like, wow. But
Yeah.
talk about being lucky, and just walking into the business at that time was good for him, because look where he is now. But yeah, he was known as Paul Levesque before known as Triple H or Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He was known as Paul Levesque, and
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he a member of the Blue Bloods, the faction of the Blue Bloods?
I believe so. I'm not too familiar with that, but I think he was.
Right. That was with can't remember his name, the British guy who runs NXT now.
Okay.
Yeah, what the heck is his name? It's on the tip of my tongue.
I'm not sure. The NXT team, I'm not too much familiar with the NXT.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, Triple H is a great wrestler. Of course, very well known with DX and
Yep.
HBK and Shawn Waltman and all the other members of DX. Of course, you had Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg. Those are the generation wrestlers that I grew up with.
Well, the thing is, I like Triple H. The reason why, because one, he's a bodybuilder. He wrestled. He wasn't a high flyer.
No.
He used brute power to take people down, and that's what wrestling's about. Now they have all these guys jumping all over the place. They jump here, fly out of the ring. And wrestling back in the days when you first grew up, everything was time limits. So you had 10 minutes to beat somebody.
Yeah.
And a guy like Triple H, he's the type of guy who could wrestle back in those days because he had the power to take you down within the 5 to 10 minute periods. These high flyers now, they need a whole 20 minutes to fight or more.
Yeah. Again, back then it was all about wrestling, and now it's more like storyline and who can be a great character.
Glamour.
Like, there's very little wrestling these days, and that's why like a lot of people are into AEW, because they're trying to bring back more wrestling, like a combination of both, the way it used to be. And a lot of people are into AEW now, and Impact Wrestling also is doing that now as well. I loved Impact Wrestling before it became Impact Wrestling. It was TNA, total nonstop action, and they had the 6-sided ring, which I thought was very innovative.
You have the octagon.
Yeah, the octagon, because it wasn't your basic squared ring, which most people are used to. And I thought it was very different for a company to introduce that, and it helped the high flyers and the wrestlers that really knew a lot of moves and stuff to kind of like maneuver in the ring.
Then you have another guy, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Everybody knows Stone Cold.
Yeah, Stone Cold was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. I loved 316 when WWE took over WCW. His gimmick with the what was classic. Like, even though the feud with him and Vince McMahon was classic in itself, I remember when they were in the hospital and McMahon was in the bed and he took the bedpan and he was like,
bedpan cracked him in the head.
Yeah.
I still love the episode when he takes his Corvette out and he fills it with cement.
Yeah. Yeah. Or bringing the beer truck and hitting into the ring and spraying everybody in the ring with the beer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's a great, that's good that he's on the list. But
I also have Bret Hitman Hart.
Yep.
Another great wrestler.
Very underrated, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Because he did great both as a face and a heel. He did great in both perspectives as far as being in his character. I thought, back in the day, he was a better face, but he was a better heel later in his career.
I think he got robbed, though. Even when Shawn Michaels beat him, I think he still got robbed in that match.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the big thing.
The Montreal screw job.
Yeah.
What they did to him was not right. And it was funny because during the Monday Night War, he ended up on WCW Monday Nitro that same week or following week. And everybody, I think basically Vince knew he was going to end up there. And that was the time when everybody was like flip-flopping between companies, and they knew they were going to get him. And I think maybe McMahon was a little sour over that, and that's maybe why he did that.
I bet you Vince McMahon would love to get the Hart name.
Yeah.
He would like to get that Hart name.
Yeah. And just to point out, a lot of great wrestlers came from the family dungeon. If everybody knows about the dungeon, their family had a training room basically in their house, and like Chris Benoit, I think Chris Jericho, a lot of great wrestlers came from the dungeon.
Stu Hart is his name. The father name is Stu Hart. Yeah.
Yep.
Then we also I have here on this list, they have Rey Mysterio Jr. I think he's talented. I don't think he's one of the top wrestlers out there.
Well,
the Giant Killer.
I think for a guy his size, I think when he was in his prime, that part, like that kind of wrestler was just coming out to be popular. The Lucha Libre wrestlers were getting more attention, but a guy his size to take on bigger wrestlers at a main event level got him where he is now. And I think maybe that's why he made that list, because there weren't many. I think he's the one who gave like the Daniel Bryans and all the smaller wrestlers an opportunity at becoming main event wrestlers.
Oh yeah, of course.
I think that's why maybe he's on the list, because he has a lot to do with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Then we got who can forget Macho Man Randy Savage?
Oh, of course, yeah.
He came out. He was like, I thought he was just the god. He came out with his woo, oh yeah,
snap into a Slim Jim.
I see. My wife put something up. Her mom loved Jake the Snake Roberts. Another great wrestler, though. Jake the Snake.
Yeah, another underrated wrestler.
Yeah. Then Anthony's out there. He put Macho Man as his favorite. There's some good wrestlers out there. John Cena. Another. He came in. I never liked John Cena, but then as I got to like him as he came in later on.
Right.
Another strong wrestler. He's very strong. I think he could have competed back in the days because his strength wise.
Yeah.
It's just old brute force he used in the ring.
Yeah. And who can't forget the snake? Like when he brought the snake out to the ring and he would chase people out of the ring with a real snake.
You see what Alice Cooper that time? Alice Cooper came out with him. He had the snake.
Yeah. And then, but getting back to Macho Man, that was another tragic story. Him and Miss Elizabeth had a real relationship that many didn't know about. Everybody thought that was part of a storyline of them always being together, but they were actually together in real life. And I think she found out, if anybody watched Dark Side of the Ring, which is a great TV series. I don't know what channel it's on, but Dark Side of the Ring focuses on obviously the behind the scenes stuff of what happens with wrestlers in real life. And the Macho Man had another relationship or a marriage, and she was just kind of like his girlfriend on the side, and she found out about that, and then the relationship went downhill after that. But he was like a big control freak, the impression I got from that show.
He looked like a nut. He's kind of crazy though.
He was eating too many Slim Jims.
Oh yeah. And then how about Harley Race?
Harley Race,
another old wrestler back in the days.
Yeah,
he was an excellent wrestler too.
Yeah, wasn't he a part of the first King of the Ring?
I believe he was.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, he was another great heel.
Yeah,
another bad guy that was really good at what he did. Yep.
And you go down the list, and the list goes on forever. And then you got, again, Shawn Michaels. I like Shawn Michaels. He wasn't my boy toy, but some women loved him. But he's a great showman. He's a wonderful showman.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, who could forget when they broke up the Rockers? That was the pivotal point of his career when he threw Marty Jannetty into the glass. and he basically turned on him, and he was a great heel. Now, he was a good face, but I thought he's another wrestler I thought was better at being a heel, rather than a face. Even though I think no matter what side he was on, though, a lot of people, he was a fan favorite.
Then you get one of my all-time favorites. That has to be Rob Van Dam. I always liked him. Yep, Rob Van Dam. ECW, WCW, WWE. He was a flyer. He was a strong guy, and I just liked the way he moved. He was a very good wrestler.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I liked the matches that he had in ECW than I did anywhere else, because they let wrestlers really kind of do what they want in the ring at the time, because ECW was first coming out, and they were at their prime at the time when Rob Van Dam was part of them, but the way he moved in the ring, and his high flying abilities, and he was very talented, and he also did really good promos, and yeah, I enjoyed his time during ECW more than anywhere else, but that's just me.
Now I'm going to go a little old school with this one.
Okay.
And I'm going to a match that I'm trying to find. It was back in the days when it was Tony Parisi and Louis Sedan, and I believe in 1974. And they were going to wrestle, I believe it was Blackjack Mulligan and Blackjack Lanza, the Blackjacks. In their corner, they had Fred Blassie, they had Lou Albano, and they brought a Superstar Billy Graham. At the time, Bruno and Superstar were going to fight for the title. So when Tony Parisi and Louis Sedan got in the ring, they saw all these guys in the ring, and they're like, "Oh, not happening." And they walk out of the ring, and now they're being counted 1, 2. When they got down to 7, the fans went crazy, and they came back with Bruno Sammartino. When the match starts, obviously Fred Blassie and Lou Albano kept interfering, and then Superstar got involved, and then Bruno jumped in the ring, and just turned mayhem. It was like one of the best matches I've ever seen. I've been trying to find it ever since.
I wonder.
I'm sorry, this is growing up as a kid, because we used to go to those matches. And as a child, we had front row seats. So every time a good guy is about to pin a bad guy, we ran to the ring. It was the funniest thing thinking about it now, because we used to run to the ring at the count of 2, and then they'd kick out of it, and we'd go sit back down. Count of 2, we run to the ring. It was back and forth, over and over. It was so much fun back as a kid watching wrestling. Now, I love watching it now, but it's just not the same.
No, it's not the same at all.
Not the same at all.
No. Another topic that we can bring up for another episode, because it'll probably take up a whole episode on its own, which is what went wrong with wrestling, either overall or what happened to WWE recently, because their ratings have like really dropped dramatically, and they're hurting as far as ratings go on TV. And not only, I think, is it because other wrestling companies are now forming and they're doing better, as the independent scene is doing better, but I just think the writing and the entertainment aspect has really drawn away from the actual wrestling. And fans like me and Gerard and Ronnie, we grew up watching real solid matches and entertaining wrestling in that aspect of entertainment, not the entertainment that you see now on Monday Night Raw or on AEW or Impact Wrestling. It's a lot different, but they focused more on their actual wrestling. And it was very, very little promo, very little storyline.
Back in the days, they all moved in slow motion.
Yeah.
I had the WWE Network, and I still watch the old matches. And it's funny watching these guys wrestle. They walk in slow motion. Their movements they have. They do even the way they stand. But the guys today, they're such good actors today.
Yeah.
And their movements they have are really incredible, these guys. And one topic I think we should do eventually is why wrestlers seem to pass away before the age of 50. These wrestlers, they died at young ages.
Well, if you think about it, I think one of the main reasons for that is because they're constantly on the road. They wrestle injured frequently, they don't get the proper treatment that they need from a medical standpoint. As far as I know, many wrestlers actually complain about the owners not taking care of their health the way they should be taking care of their health. And a lot of them kind of like go down the dark side because they get addicted to painkillers, and they drink a lot because they're always on the road, and they go to the bars and they party, and they're not really taking care of themselves the way they should.
It's a tough business to be in.
It is. So many great wrestlers have died young.
Yep.
We just recently had a guy, John Huber, aka Luke Harper, Brody Lee, known as Brody Lee in AEW. They did a great tribute show, by the way. If anybody watches AEW, they did a great tribute to him. I thought they did a great job with that. But he touched a lot of people as far as being a role model in behind the scenes in the locker room. He was a good role model for a lot of people. A lot of people looked up to him, and so many people came out with so many different stories about him and how he was, and how they looked up to him. And it was really sad, like, to hear. He was younger than me. He was like 41 years old, and he had a lung issue, and a lot of people didn't know about his issues. Very few people knew about his health condition, and he passed away at 41 years old, which is really sad. Yep. But he had a great career. He had a great career ahead of him, and that's what happens.
And I also see Laura put up the Ultimate Warrior, and the Ultimate Warrior I thought was a phenomenal wrestler. I grew up and I always trained in the gym. We used to train just to be like the Warrior at one point. He had muscles beyond muscles, but yet his moves, he was breathing like the whole time, like he was dying. His arms up, it's like shaking the ropes. It was just the coolest thing what he did. But he was like, if he didn't beat somebody fast, he was going to lose. Because I read about him, he was so unpredictable that, like when you wrestled Hulk Hogan, he beat Hogan. That I guess was it a WrestleMania? I believe he beat Hogan in. It was just back and forth with the two. But the Ultimate Warrior, he was just so predictable on wrestle, because I think Rick Rude beat him too a couple of times. And you would never expect Rick Rude to ever beat him.
Right. And another great wrestler that should be on that list is Rick Rude, because during his generation time in WWF, he was a great heel. Yeah. He was a good Intercontinental champion, if I'm not mistaken. He won the Intercontinental belt quite a few times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you were right about the Ultimate Warrior. He had quick matches, because I don't think he had the skill as far as being a technical wrestler, but he was more of I guess you can consider him more of a bruiser type wrestler, because he used mostly his power.
Clotheslines.
Right.
He did clotheslines, shoulder blocks, and overhead press. And then big splash. He's over 200 pounds. Well, 200 pounds. So.
But they kind of used him to pass the torch from Hogan to him. That's why he beat Hogan, because that was like the passing of the torch. For him to be the next big thing. And again, it's sad what happened with him. I mean, he died older, which is good, but his career didn't do anything after that.
And one thing I never understood is, if a wrestler's champion, he can be champion for 6 months, 3 months, whatever, and nobody can beat him. But once he loses the title, it seems like they never get it back. It just seemed to go like now it just changes every 5 minutes. So I don't know who's champion no more. They keep changing it. But back in the days, like when Bruno was champion, he won it only twice the title. He won it. He lost to Ivan Koloff the first time, and then he lost to Superstar Billy Graham, and then he never won it back, and then he retired after that.
Yeah.
But wrestlers today, you're champion today, and then tomorrow, next Monday night, they lose it. They're back on Thursday. It's back and forth.
Well, I think there's a lot of behind the scene reasons that people don't know about. Like, they could have either a legitimate injury, and they want to put the belt on somebody that can hold the belt for, like they kind of, I call them belt holders. Like they kind of hold the belt for in the meantime, like it's in the meantime kind of thing, and then that's why they only hold on to the title for a short period of time, because then the ones that are really the main event belt holder, are come back from injury, and then they come back, and now they're back in the picture, and then the title goes back to them. So, and then plus two, a lot of stuff behind the scenes, wrestlers get heat for how they carry themselves in the locker room, and I think a lot depends on how they carry themselves professionally among their colleagues, and if they bring on heat in the locker room, I think that can also put you in the doghouse, so to speak. That happens a lot.
And another wrestler who's underrated, Tommy Dreamer.
Tommy Dreamer is another great wrestler. Yep.
He's underrated in a way, because I think he could have been a lot better than he was. It seemed like they held him back, though.
They held back a lot of people. That's why a lot of wrestlers left the company, because they held them back.
Look at Sabu, another wrestler. He was crazy. That guy wasn't happy until he bled. He'll win the match, and then he'll go and keep jumping through a table until he cuts himself. Guy was psychotic.
He was. Yeah, but he was entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. I loved Sabu.
Sabu.
When he, the finger in the air.
You're going back to ECW now.
Yeah.
It was sad when ECW got taken over. When first they got shut down. Because we just like going to ECW matches. They were affordable matches. You can go with a family to ECW matches cheap.
Yeah.
And now to get wrestling tickets, everything's very expensive.
Yeah, they used to what was it, the ballroom in Philadelphia or in the city? They only played very small venues, and
Hammerstein Ballroom. Hammerstein
Ballroom. That's their, yeah, and that's where they did most of their events. Was there, and they did very little pay-per-viewing. It was only once in a while that they would have like a big pay-per-view. But yeah, ECW was great. Paul Heyman, I hate to say it, but Paul Heyman is a very creative person, and I think him at the helm is really good, because he actually helped WWE a little bit with their ratings when they put him back in as an executive writer, and when he was pushing certain individual, the storylines got a little bit better, and that's because of Paul Heyman.
Oh yeah.
So I got to give credit where credit's due, whether you like Paul Heyman or not. But Paul Heyman has a lot to do with pushing a lot of potential.
Now, Paul Heyman, he grabbed Roman Reigns now as his main guy now.
Yeah.
So Roman Reigns became like a dirtbag now. He was well loved, and now he's beating up his own cousins.
Yeah. But a lot of people like that, though. Like it's different for him, and it's working for him in a small way. So.
But some wrestlers, I liked him when he first came out, but then now it's just too much. Yeah. These guys, they get beat up all the way through, and then they come back at the end. They hit the head with a chair 20 times, and then come back and win the match. Make no sense.
Yeah. I want to, again, just give a quick shout out to those in the chat. We have your brothers in there. Anthony Spinelli's in there. His wife, Laura's in there. How you doing, Laura? Want to say hello to them. Your wife is in there. My wife is listening to the show. She's there as well. But guys, yeah, we have a chat. If you're tuning in late, you can catch us on Facebook, YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to our show. There's a little bell, top right corner of the main page of our YouTube channel. You can just hit that. Please subscribe and follow us on Facebook. We'll make all of our announcements and anything about our podcast, topics and things coming up about the podcast will be, announced on our Facebook page. That's where you can get all the information about the podcast. So if you guys want to, check out our podcast, that's the place to be. So please like our page on Facebook. Again, our show is going to be called Deadman's Triad Wrestling Podcast. I think it's a cool name. Again, we were trying to think of something different, stand out. Gerard came with, what was the first name you came up with? I don't remember.
Deadman something.
Oh, Deadman's 3, I think, or something.
Deadman's 3, yeah.
Yeah. And then I said, 3 is kind of boring. I said, how about we make it Triad? Because we're going to be 3 hosts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, today, too.
Yeah. But right now, we're 2. Yeah. Hopefully, Ronnie's situation is okay. But yeah, we're gonna have a third host. His name is Ronnie Anderson. Good friend and colleague of ours, and it's gonna be a cool show. We're gonna try to have guests from time to time on the show. I can't wait to get some responses from potential guests that I emailed. Hopefully we'll have some wrestlers on our podcast. We'll do some interviews, and hopefully there'll be great interviews. And we won't have interviews all the time, but we'll have some great topics because there's so much to talk about with wrestling. Again, there's so many fans that watch from the first generation to now, and that's what this podcast is going to be about.
And funny you said with Cody Rhodes earlier. I have this thing here I bought years ago. If you look, there's gold dust. And then it has the Ultimate Warrior on there.
Oh, wow.
And then, let's see, we got the Ultimate Warrior down here, if you can see him.
Mm-hmm.
And I go this way here. You got Bret Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels. Nice. And it was bought back in Toys R Us. Toys R Us.
What year is that?
You know what? I didn't even know.
Probably early 90s, maybe?
$19.99 back then. Bone crunching effect. It's still in the box.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yep. Yeah, everybody remember the rubber wrestlers that the guys would collect? I'm sure you have them. I used to have a ton of them. Yep.
Hey, look at that. Iron Sheik.
There you go.
Jimmy Snuka.
Yep.
And who remembers him?
Oh, yeah, Hillbilly Jim. Yep. Yep. Who was the other guy that was popular? He was tall, always wore white. He was a heel during that time period, the late 80s. Like during the time of Mr. Paul Orndorff. Can't remember his name.
What did he do?
He was tall, very tall.
It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. It wasn't me. I don't know. It'll come to me. It'll come to me.
Do you remember his move or?
No, he was a bruiser. He wasn't like really technical at all. He was just more of a tall bruiser kind of wrestler.
You know, also an old bruiser type. I don't know if you remember him, Ernie Ladd.
Yeah, I remember
Ernie
him.
the Cat Ladd.
Yep.
I read about him, and his big thing was he wrestled. He was a football player, and he won championships with I think Oakland and Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And then he did a promo where he went against these little wrestlers, and he thought he wiped the ring with them. Yeah. And these guys beat the hell out of him.
Nice.
And then that's when he decided he's going to become a wrestler himself.
Nice.
Remember, he had the thumb wrapped up. He had the thumb in the neck.
So, we're guys. Again, if you're tuning in late, we're going over the 30 all-time great wrestlers. We should really, it would be a long show because there's so many. But if we did a great wrestlers list, but from each generation, because each generation was different.
We could probably do 30 each week.
Yeah.
There's so many wrestlers to choose from out there.
Yeah.
And if everybody else listening, everybody else has their own that they really liked.
Right. Yeah. But Chris Jericho I like a lot. He's one of my favorite because he's an entertainer all around, not just a wrestler. Yeah. But if you know him outside of wrestling, he also has a metal band called Fozzy. He's a great singer. His music is great, very entertaining. And he's also been on TV. He's hosted reality TV shows, and he's been on Dancing with the Stars. He's a great entertainer. And I'm kind of glad he's the front runner of AEW. And I was very surprised when they debuted that he became their champion. Because he was in WWE for many, many years.
Another good guy. How about Batista?
I don't know if he would make the list, though.
It's just why, as an entertainer, he came out, he was nobody. Now he's becoming a very good actor on top of it.
Right.
But I think if you're going to go with the acting-wise, I have to go with The Rock. I think The Rock is probably then the best. He is phenomenal. He's funny. He's a good actor. Even when he came into the ring, the stuff he did in the ring. I don't think he was a great wrestler, but he was well loved, and he was just. I like him. I like him now.
Yeah. Batista was more. He brought a lot of intensity, just like the Ultimate Warrior.
Yep.
I'd kind of put him in that category with like the Ultimate Warrior.
And he was Triple H's training partner in the gym.
Yeah,
they were best friends in the gym. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully, guys, when we make our actual premiere debut #1 episode next Sunday, we're gonna make the time, I believe, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time every Sunday morning. Our show will be aired. Hopefully, we'll work out all the audio issues by then. I'm gonna have a new computer set up, so I'm hoping that works all that out. Yeah, women wrestlers. Yeah, we can't forget about the women wrestlers. My wife made a good point in the chat there. There's we can make a separate list of the all-time 30 great women wrestlers. There was quite a few.
Oh, there's a lot out there. I think the Fabulous Moolah was the best.
Oh yeah, Alundra
I
Blaze.
don't think she was that great of a wrestler, but she held her own all the way through.
Yeah, how about Alundra Blaze? Yeah, I
think
China. She's underrated. And I remember, do you remember, Gerard, when she jumped ship from WCW? I don't remember if it was going there or going to WWE where she brought the belt with her and she threw it in the trash and she lit the trash can on fire with the women's belt.
That one, I don't remember that one too much.
Yeah. I'll have to find the video of that again. I don't remember if it was like with her leave. I think it was her leaving WCW, and I think that's when she was going to WWF at the time. Yeah, she brought.
Now, what about China?
The belt with her, and she threw it in the trash, and it was a great promo. And she lit the trash can on fire. She was like, "Yeah." It was
and then remember, you got China.
Yeah, very very tragic what happened with her. She and Hunter Hearst Helmsley had a relationship before he married Stephanie McMahon, and she took a very dark path in her career, and that made her career kind of go downhill. And basically she went into the adult business for a little bit, and after that, she I don't know if it was if it was made a suicide or just like she overdosed or something. But yeah, very tragic what happened with China. I'm
trying to think. Jimmy Snuka, his daughter wrestles.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the name she goes by, but she is one big girl and she's strong. But they're holding her back because she doesn't have the glamour now.
Yeah,
it seems like only the girls with glamour seem to be doing well. And she looks like a man, and she's strong and she's a good wrestler, but they're holding her back.
Yeah. I agree. Anthony Simonelli brought up Glow. I remember Glow wrestling.
I don't know if that was much wrestling though.
No, not really.
Did anybody famous ever come out of that?
I don't know. I'd have to do some research, but because again, this is like going back quite a few years, so I can't remember off the top of my head. The older we get, our short-term memory kicks in. But yeah, I'd have to research. But I think maybe one or two did.
Let's see, Josie put down Charlotte Flair. She's another good wrestler, though. Very good wrestler.
I think right now, I would say she's probably one of the top 5 as far as any company right now. She's been champion over and over. They're trying to make her like the Ric Flair in the women's division. Because of who our dad is, Ric Flair. I mean, again, he should make that list. Ric Flair is another great wrestler.
Of course, Anthony's putting all these other ones that don't do anything.
Farmer's daughter. Anthony, we don't want to know where you're getting that from. Your mind is in the gutter. Oh man. All right, so we're getting down to the bottom of the show. There's a lot of great wrestlers on that list. We'll put it up on our Facebook page. We'll share it. You guys can, leave your feedback, leave your comments on it if you like. We welcome feedback, with our topics. If you'd like your feedback mentioned on the show, feel free give us some feedback on what we're talking about, and we might share it on the show. I don't know. We're gonna keep the show around an hour on Sunday mornings, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Again, guys, you can watch it either on Facebook or on YouTube. Please subscribe to the show. And I don't know, anything else to add, Gerard?
Oh yeah, I forgot that on the list. I forgot to say the Von Erich, the entire family, the Von Erich family,
the tornado Von Erich,
Texas tornado.
Yeah,
but the entire family, they all committed suicide.
Yeah, that's just like
everyone committed suicide around the same age, like in the 30s.
Yeah, that's wackadoo.
Each one after the other, and everyone was a phenomenal wrestler.
They were like up and coming. They were like the next big thing, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and it's really a shame. Yeah, but yeah, that's another thing that could be another topic. The dark side of wrestling.
And the very last one I forgot, the main one, Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
We didn't talk about Dusty today.
Yeah,
he's in the top 30.
Yeah. Pink and yellow. What did he used to call himself? The pink and yellow something or other.
He came out with the love machine.
Yeah. When
come over there with big fat gut shaking around.
Yeah.
All the women love him.
Yeah. But he was a great wrestler for his time, and and look what came out of that generation, which is you have Dustin, which became Gold Dust, and then you have Cody Rhodes. And, just real quick, what I thought could have been a great faction was Legacy, when Randy Orton formed a small faction with Ted DiBiase Jr. and also with Cody Rhodes, and they called it Legacy. And I thought that was a great small little faction. I thought they should have kept going with that, even though they killed it, because that's what WWE is known for, is killing great storylines and factions. But
maybe we could do one of those. We could do the storylines of the like all different groups. The different, like you had the Four Horsemen, then you had the what was that? The Generation X. We could do little things with these things, different groups.
Yep. Yeah, so that's what our show will be about, pretty much. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Again, Gerard, any last closing thoughts?
No, nothing at this point. This is going to be interesting. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
I actually enjoyed this podcast.
Yeah, I can't wait for more episodes to come. Again, guys, catch us every Sunday mornings, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook or YouTube. Chat with us during the show. If you have questions or if you have comments about the topics we talk about, feel free. And it's going to be a fun podcast. Hopefully we'll have guests from time to time. And of course, our third host, Ronnie Anderson, who are in our thoughts right now. He had a family emergency to take care of. But he'll be here with us for our premiere show, for our first episode. I think, we'll keep everybody posted about what topics will be for our premiere episode. And I'm going to leave it at that. So I'm going to go ahead and play our theme song, which I hope everybody enjoys. I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm going to play our song here and end the broadcast, guys. I wish everybody a great Sunday afternoon. Be safe. Be well. Happy New Year to everybody, because now...
Happy New Year, guys.
21. All right.